The entire tennis world froze when Roger Federer's inner circle announced something. Furthermore, the name they referred to as a legend wasn't Golf, Sabalina, or Spiet. Secondly, she will become the next legend. These exact terms were used to describe a 20-year-old Filipino girl who a year ago seconds had not been marked on anyone's calendar outside of Manila. Here's what makes this gut-punching moment exceptional. This wasn't meant to be flattering. This was not a polite quotation tucked away in a news release. This was an intentional, public, speaking on live television with the entire tennis community. The man who mentored the greatest player in history made a second-hand, full-throated statement. Second swatching. You must first comprehend the journey in order to comprehend why those words are as important as a Grand Slam trophy. Because of what Alex Eala did, not only was it astonishing to reach this point, but it was almost impossible. Seconds. No one told this story in its entirety. By the time this is over, you will know just why the crowd fell silent and what that stillness signified. Everything. Imagine a manicure, Spain, tennis court. The clay dust rises from the red earth in the hot sun. 14 years old with a racket in hand, Ayala, who recently returned from the Philippines, observed athletes twice her size and experience, moving with the kind of fluency that requires years to develop. She didn't have a rating, no WTA points, and no assurance that any of this would be effective. Instead, she had something more uncommon. The kind of subdued, musical intensity that Bryson revealed up until the explosion. Born on May 23, 2005, in Quezon City, Philippines, to a mother, father, and businessman who competed at the 1985 Southeast Asian Games and stood on a podium. Swimmer. Alex Eala's athletic sense was ingrained in her from birth. Her family changed the definition of when she was 14 years old. Her prospects. She would train full-time at the Spanish movie star Rafa Nadal Academy. That was more than a coaching choice. It was an astounding act of faith. There are no tourists from the Rafa Nadal Academy. It creates rivals. After 2 years of arrival, Ayala made a move that quietly alerted the tennis community. In 2020, she and Prisca Negro won the Australian Open Junior Doubles Championship. 2:232 minutes, 23 seconds later, she won the Roland Garros Junior Doubles title in 2021. Additionally, in 2022, she became the U.S. Open Junior Championship, was won by the first Filipino to win a Grand Slam Junior Singles Championship in 2:312 minutes and 31 seconds. 2:382 minutes and 38 seconds to rank second in the Junior World Rankings. Titles, records, past, but the professional game continued to ignore it. Due to the existence of professional and junior tennis in the junior circuit honors potential in various universes. The WTA Tour uses ruthless efficiency to punish novices. You can dominate under 18 competition, enter Miami's main draw, and be destroyed in less than 45 minutes by a player ranked 200 spots higher than you. Careers more decorated than Ayala's have been engulfed by the gap between junior glory and professional survival. Her early WTA performances revealed a well-known tale. Qualifying loses, early departures rounds that failed to showcase her talent. She rose to 143rd place in the world rankings by the end of 2024. A quantity that doesn't keep sponsor phones ringing, doesn't gain you main draw entries at the major tournaments, and doesn't place you on anyone's short list for their next legend discussion. 3:383 minutes, 38 seconds. In the world, she was ranked 143rd. One more intriguing name on an extensive list of 3:463 minutes, 46 seconds, promising names that the sport frequently overlooks. Here's what was missing from that ranking though. How come there is no ranking? 3:533 minutes and 53 seconds were recorded. The manner she trained at midnight when everyone else had gone to bed was not measured. The number of hours she spent renovating was not quantified. Her serve, honing her backhand redirect, and gaining the tactical acumen that would eventually turn a 5-time Grand Slam winner into her highlight reel included a footnote. The rating represented a moment in her life. It had no idea what lay ahead for her, and it was about to happen without any notice. Are you still with us? Because of what not only did what transpired at the 2025 Miami Open alter Alex Ayala's career, It rocked women's tennis to its core. And no one anticipated it. Miami Gardens, Florida, March 2025, the Miami Bee Open. Among the most prominent WTA 1000 events of the year. The kind of competition where the top players in the world can't sleep because of their draws. The kind of competition where a 140th ranked wild card from the Philippines is expected to appear, fight valiantly, and lose in the first or second round, and stealthily return to the challenger circuit with a pleasant recollection and perhaps a little boost in self-assurance. Alex Eala showed up with a crazy she had a card in her hand and nothing to lose. She defeated American Katie Volinitz 63-76 in the first round. A strong professional victory. The tennis community gave a courteous nod and went on. The second round. She defeated 2017 French Open champion Jelena Ostapenko 76-75. People hesitated. Ostapenko came in at number 25. Wild cards can occasionally cause upsets, but that wasn't supposed to happen. The world gave a shrug. The third round. Madison Keys, the current Australian Open champion, was completely destroyed by her. Placed 6th in the world. 6 feet 4 inches, 6 feet 2 inches. Not near, not a fight. Ayala dissected the winner of the Australian Open. Slowly, clinically, and without showing signs of nerves, as if she had spent her entire career defeating slam champions. People stopped shrugging now. The quarterfinal followed. Perhaps the most complete clay court player of all time, Iga Swiatek is ranked second in the world and has won 4 French Open titles. Generation. On the most significant instances, a player has made the greatest athletes feel insignificant. When using straight sets, in the Open era, Ayala became the first Filipino in history to defeat a player ranked in the top 10. At Hard Rock Stadium, the crowd seemed unsure whether to yell or just gaze. Speaking later about that week, Ayala said, "I didn't expect to be in the quarterfinals, that's for sure. I simply went match by match. I was fortunate to receive a wild card once more, and Miami is a tournament I eagerly await each year. As soon as I set foot on that court, I knew I had to make the most of it and give it my all. Fortunate." She referred to it as fortunate, but what transpired on those courts had nothing to do with luck. That was the result of years of unseen work that was now abruptly apparent. In the end, she lost to Jessica Pegula, ranked 4th in the world, in a fierce 3-set semifinal 7-6, 5-7, 6-3. It was a painful defeat, but it also gave her 390 ranking points, 332,160 in prize money and non-monetary goods. A position in the past. The first Filipino to advance to the WTA 1000 semifinals. The first Filipino within the WTA 100, going from 140 to 75 in just 1 week. Rafa Nadal, the man who created the academy that molded her, used social media with his usual friendliness. Congratulations, Alex. What a fantastic victory for the Philippines and for you. However, another legend was making a payment at his Swiss house. Paying great attention, and he was going to involve his coach. Paul Annacone is more than just a tennis instructor. He is a live overview of what it truly takes to be a great tennis player. He mentored Pete Sampras while he was a coach. To several Wimbledon championships and Roger Federer through some of the best seasons in the history of the sport. He is the only person living who truly comprehends the unique blend of skill, disposition, and strategic brilliance that distinguishes all-time legends from exceptionally talented performers. When Annacone expresses his respect for someone in front of the camera on Tennis Channel Live, the tennis community pays radically different attention. A few weeks prior to Indian Wells 2026, Annacone did not discuss Ayala. Hedged, he didn't give qualified but cautious praise. "She's got a smile," he declared with total certainty. "It brightens a space. I recall how gracefully and humbly she defeated Iviette last year, and it was amazing to watch her handle that match, then watch her play and strive to keep getting better because I enjoy her style of play. She has excellent hand-eye coordination and ability to take the ball early and redirect." He emphasized in particular the technical trait that distinguishes top returners, the ability to absorb, the ability to precisely reroute incoming pace and transform an opponent's power into your own weapon is not something that just happens. Federer himself used that same approach to build championships. Anacone wasn't done. He noticed something that goes beyond skill, the phenomenon that surrounds Ayala's presence wherever she competes. I always enjoy the fan things because when you see players from lesser nations, the Filipino admirers have followed Ayala across continents, and the word passionate doesn't adequately convey their fervor when they reach the top. Overwhelming venues in California, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi with decibel levels that tournament organizers have rushed to manage. Former player Jeannie as Butchid watched the frenzy from the Tennis Channel booth. She was asked if she could think of any female athlete in the world who could command such a level of dedication. Music, she paused before responding, Taylor Swift. She wasn't really kidding. Buzzard later, maybe Manny Pacquiao when he was at the top of his game, and I think if Ayala can continue to do well with her tennis, who knows, she went on. The possibilities are endless. Then Martina Navratilova, one of the most renowned, won 18 Grand Slam championships. Ayala's potential was discussed directly with the WTA by one of the most insightful voices in tennis history. Surgical, astute, a proficient left-hander, and adept at utilizing her variety, but Navratilova consistently went farther. Determined the exact change Ayala has to make. I believe her serve is the area where she can improve the most or make it pay off more. She needs a bigger Kim Kerrs, a 4-time Grand Slam champion, likened Ayala's cultural significance to that of Michael Jordan, saying she needs to hold her ground and believe. Not a tennis analogy, but a Michael Jordan analogy. The tennis establishment was paying attention to more than simply Alex Eala. Erecting a platform, but wait, not everyone was having fun. Legends were lining up to crown her, but pressure and skepticism were mounting. Stay put. The moment a 20-year-old from a nation with no WTA titles almost ruined everything the critics polished their tools. History is compared to both Taylor Swift and Michael Jordan at the same time, and they were ready. The main argument put out by the skeptics was presented with statistical accuracy. Ayala had precisely before 2026, she had only one Grand Slam match victory under her belt. 1. Her 2025 French Open debut ended in the first round. Barbora Kreskova, the current champion, lost in the first round of Wimbledon against Aimlana Arango. Alicia Parks, rated 99 in a match, destroyed her at the Australian Open in 2026. Ayala dominated the first set until almost collapsing. The score was 63,626. The Instagram celebrations were deliberately cut out of the photo to tell a message about inconsistency. ESPN's A New Type of Pressure follows a higher position, according to analysis following that Australian Open exit. The gaps narrow, the rivalry intensifies, and each game becomes a test of not only skill but also consistency and poise. Her flaws were known, and opponents had started examining her tendencies. The serve that Navratilova publicly criticized, opponents were becoming more aggressive in their attacks, and the scheduling of the WTA circuit created further tension. Despite having the most audiences at several competitions, Ayala had frequently been placed on subsidiary courts at odd times, an arrangement that upset her fans and created uneasy doubts about the legitimacy of the sport's power structure in her ascent. One fan comment succinctly expressed the mood. Alex is without a doubt the most well-known player on tour at the moment, and they continue to conceal her on court 5 at midnight. At the Dubai Tennis Championships, the tournament organizers finally made a change of direction, putting her up against Jasmine Paolini in the evening's final center court match. The stadium was packed, she prevailed, then lost to Coco Gauff in the quarterfinals, which was cited by critics as proof of a ceiling. The move from number 143 to number 31 in only a single year was cited by supporters as proof of a trajectory that disregards ceilings. ESPN made it clear that in order for Ayala to advance, her serve must become a more potent tool versus elite opponents with powerful serves. She cannot afford to dominate matches with just her return game. Alex Eala's talent wasn't the question hovering over Indian Wells 2026. The potential was undeniable. The question was whether she had the consistency, the physical toughness, and the mental architecture to prevail when rivals deliberately craft their strategy to counter all she does. Indian Wells would render the decision in a magnificent manner. For the first time in her career, Alexandra Isa arrived as a seeded competitor at a WTA 1000 competition. Seed number 31, her name appeared on the main draw bracket as a true, ranked, and anticipated challenger rather than as a wild-card charity case. The atmosphere inside the BNP Paribas Open grounds was noticeably changed when the Filipino army came on the California desert in large numbers. Flags, the sounds of shirts, chants, and Tagalog reverberated off the hard court surfaces and palm trees. Indian Wells 2026 wasn't what the sports community had been waiting decades for a Filipino player to achieve this level. Simply a tennis competition. It was a coronation ceremony. Diana Yastramska, her opponent in the second round, needed to duplicate the performance. Aggressive, erratic, and the type of opponent that physically overwhelms players after herself with massive serves and flat ground strokes. It was precisely the profile Navratilova had cautioned Ia about, the test her detractors claimed she wasn't prepared for. The match was brutally honest about every flaw the analysts had found. Ia faltered. Her concentration lapses, which had been identified as a recurrent vulnerability, allowed Yastimsa to return to times where the match should have been sealed. Appeared at the exact moment when they could do the most harm. After that, the decisive set down under duress, the crowd quiet with the particular kind of quiet that results with 40,000 people holding their breath together. Isa didn't panic. She followed Navralovas instructions exactly, using the larger serve, holding her footing, and deploying she finished the match with just 4 double faults, a slice that the 18-time slam champion called down pat. Direct, quantifiable reaction to the most common critique of her game. She won her maiden WTA 1000 third-round appearance, and Coco Golf World number 4 was waiting in round 3. The biggest event in Alexandra Ia's career was the Indian Wells Center Stage. Thinking back on I think that has to be the highlight of my career so far, I responded, referring to the Miami run that initiated everything. That's what made me famous. After that, everything made sense. Looking back, I simply think, it's unbelievable to think it truly occurred. Wow, it was insane. 1 year from number 143 to sitting at the voice in her corner was the loudest as she stood across the net from Coco Golf at Indian Wells. Roger Federer's personal coaching philosophy